In 1896, Theodor Herzl published Der Judenstaat, a book that proposed the creation of a Jewish state and founded political Zionism. Herzl was the person who popularized the belief in creating a geographically defined political roof for the world's Jewish population. In other words, Herzl was the first prominent figure to espouse Jewish nationalism. Herzl's ideas became the intellectual foundation of the State of Israel and its supporters in America. Today, the role of Israel as the Jewish state of Herzl's imagination is a hotly contested debate in Jewish American politics and academia. The Jewish community in America is generally divided among three political spheres regarding Israel and Zionism. The first, what may be called neo-Zionists, are associated with right-wing, pro-settlement policies embodied in the Likud party in Israel, and occasionally far more radical groups such as the Jewish Defense League. The second group, liberal Zionists, are highly critical of the Israeli government's actions, support a two-state solution, oppose settlements in the West Bank, and believe that Israel's human rights violations under the auspice of national defense actually hurt the desirable prospect of a safe and peaceful Jewish state. The third group consists of anti-Zionists who oppose the idea of a Jewish state. Of course, there are often unclear boundaries between these three groups, and they do not represent all the political opinions of American Jewry. Still, they are useful distinctions in understanding Zionism in America. Neo-Zionists are generally associated with right-wing politics. However, this does not mean that fiscal conservatism is a central tenet of Neo-Zionism, as it is arguably the ideological successor of pre-1967 radical leftist Zionism. The name itself comes from the term neoconservative, and the two ideologies rose congruently beginning in the 1960s and reached political preeminence in Israel and America in the 1990s. In Israel, this timeline corresponds with the 1967 Six-Day War, which led to Israeli military control of Gaza, the West Bank, and the Golan Heights, along with the failure of the Oslo I Accords following their signing in 1993.
President Sadat and Menachem Begin of Israel signed the Camp David Accords with Jimmy Carter at their side.
Like neoconservative aims for America, neo-Zionists support conservative identity politics and the expansion of Israeli military and soft power in order to ensure regional and global stability. This means that they support the current expansion of settlements under Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, which international law considers illegal, and the Israeli military control of West Bank security, essentially denying the possibility of the formation of a sovereign Palestinian state. More hardline neo-Zionists support the incorporation of the West Bank into the Jewish state and do not refer to this land as the Palestinian territories or the West Bank, but as Judea and Samaria. Neo-Zionists in America are likely to receive their news about Israel from right-leaning American publications or English-language Israeli publications such as the Jerusalem Post or the Times of Israel, as well as support organizations such as the American Israeli Public Affairs Committee, or AIPAC, and the Zionist Organization of America. Liberal Zionism, as the name implies, is associated with center-left American politics. Though the left and right-wing debates over Zionism occur in Israel, the true home of liberal Zionism is America. Prominent liberal Zionist literature is almost always written in English and not Hebrew. These works include Ari Shavit's My Promised Land and Peter Boehnerdt's The Crisis of Zionism. The most prominent liberal Zionist organizations are J Street, a new student organization and lobbying group challenging the control of the Zionist Organization of America, and AIPAC, and Americans for Peace Now, a group dedicated to the evacuation of all settlements and the creation of a Palestinian state. Liberal Zionist organizations are highly critical of settlements, the denial of a viable Palestinian state, aggressive actions by the Israeli military, and xenophobia in Israel and among the Jewish diaspora. At the same time, these organizations strongly condemn groups like Hamas, while maintaining that they are pro-Israel and Zionist. The left-leaning English-language Israeli newspaper Haaretz has become the major news outlet for liberal Zionists. The last group, anti-Zionists, oppose the idea of a Jewish state altogether, and often support the boycott, divestment, and sanctions movement. BDS models itself off the international community's response to apartheid in South Africa, and seeks to economically and politically isolate Israel. Anti-Zionism is influenced by the works of Jewish academics such as Noam Chomsky and Norman Finkelstein, along with firebrand Jewish journalists like Max Blumenthal and David Sheen, who have produced controversial work exposing racism and xenophobia in Israeli society. The most prominent Jewish organization that may be considered a part of this ideology is the Jewish Voice for Peace, though they do not take a particular stance on the one or two-state solution. Though very vocal, this last ideological group has little presence among the mainstream Jewish American population. The large majority of American Jews fit into the first two groups and would likely identify as Zionist. The majority of American Jews, with margins ranging from slim to large according to polls conducted by J Street, Pew Forum, and the American Jewish Committee, support the creation of a Palestinian state alongside a Jewish state. Only 9% do not feel a connection to Israel, and only 4% strongly support a campaign to boycott products made in Israel. Both liberal and neo-Zionist groups usually claim to support a two-state solution and claim to be pro-Israel, a term that appears to be increasingly more popular than Zionist. The major debate in mainstream Zionism is then not about the validity of the two-state solution or being pro-Israel. It is about what these terms mean. Liberal Zionist Peter Boehnert has accused American Jews of two-state washing, or supporting actions by the Israeli government that would make the creation of a Palestinian state impossible, such as the continuation of settlements and Israeli military presence in the Jordan River Valley, while saying that they support a two-state solution. He claims that, in mainstream American Jewish discourse, the two-state solution has become something almost infinitely elastic. It has no fixed parameters. It means whatever the Israeli government says it means. While liberal Zionists have accused neo-Zionists of not really supporting a two-state solution, neo-Zionists have claimed that liberal Zionists are not actually pro-Israel. Alan Dershowitz, author of Israeli apologist bestseller The Case for Israel, and frequent object of intense academic criticism from anti-Zionists Norman Finkelstein and Noam Chomsky, claim that J Street is not pro-Israel after the group declined to attend a solidarity rally for Israel in Boston during the most recent Gaza conflict. The goal of the rally, according to Dershowitz, was to send a single and simple message. At a time when so many in the world are united against Israel's efforts at defending itself from Hamas rockets and terrorist tunnels, stand with Israel. For Dershowitz, who considers himself a moderate despite his liberal critics claiming otherwise, being pro-Israel means supporting aggressive Israeli military actions if they claim to be in self-defense. American Jewish thought regarding what Zionism means is deeply divided. One major trend, shown in a Pew Research poll of 3,500 American Jews, showed a correlation between being young and having a more liberal conception of Zionism in Israel. American Jews who are between 18 and 29 years old, as compared to older groups, are significantly more likely to lack an emotional connection to Israel, not consider caring about Israel to be an important part of being Jewish, believe in the viability of a two-state solution, believe that settlements hurt Israel's security, and are less likely to believe that the Israeli government is making a sincere effort towards peace. Open Hillel was founded in 2012 after Brandeis Jewish Voice for Peace was forbidden from affiliating with Brandeis's chapter of Hillel. Hillel, the self-described largest Jewish organization in the world, is an influential Jewish student organization found across hundreds of American college campuses that announced a partnership with AIPAC in 2013. The goal of Open Hillel is to open up Hillel to a multitude of views on Israel. The Open Hillel campaign, according to its website, does not advocate for BDS or for any other political position on Israel-Palestine. The campaign simply advocates for the inclusion of all Jewish groups within Hillel regardless of their political views. This campaign represents a movement of young Jewish Americans to disassociate their identity from a specific stance on Israel and Zionism, reimagining what it means to be part of the Jewish nation in America.